Here are three myths and three truths about your spiritual awakening. Hi, I'm Stellian, founder and chief storyteller at NEO, which stands for the New Earth Order. Myth number one is that you cannot eat bread or meat. Bread and meat are probably going to slow down your bodily functions. They might even suppress some of your immune system's properties, but you're on earth to experience earth. And some of the finest things, culinary speaking, food wise, they contain bread. They contain the ingredients that make up bread. And so I would discourage you from completely removing bread out of your diet if it's something that brings you joy. You're not here to be a martyr, to just suffer for the sake of enlightenment. You're here to enjoy life. And some of the food options will contain bread and meat. And what's more, meat offers us a unique connection to our ancestors who were hunters and gatherers, and they relied on meat for their connection to Mother Gaia, to Mother Nature. So, veganism has taken things to the extreme, everything in moderation. And above all, you have to be mindful about what you eat, and your lifestyle, how you live. So, if you're able to give gratitude to everything that you are about to cook or consume, then you're already in alignment with a higher version of yourself, with higher consciousness. You're already in connection with nature. It's a little bit like nature wanting to give offerings to us and us saying no. It's just a little bit like that because animals are here to assist us on our spiritual evolution in different capacity. Sometimes there are our pets, sometimes they are part of what we consume in order for us to gain understanding. Have you ever had the experience of establishing almost telepathic communication with animals? Maybe there is a reason for that. Maybe it is the food that we consume, the meat that we consume, that allows us to integrate some of the consciousness or some of the lifelessness consumed by those animals. Maybe that's our way of increasing our understanding when it comes to other species. But I would not define eating bread or meat as anti-spiritualistic or anti-ascension, anti-awakening. However, if you're going through an active phase of your awakening and ascension, you should probably have a very clean diet to support the integration of your consciousness and to increase the clarity around the messages which you're receiving so that you can channel them, so that you can understand them, so that you can develop them. Because the food that you consume is either going to cloud your mind or it's going to increase your energy level, it's going to boost your vivacity, your life. But eating meat is an essential part of integrating more of the divine masculine blueprints because they require higher masculine energy. And sometimes meat is going to help you boost that energy, especially if you're integrating both of those templates, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, in order for you to be of service, in order for you to align with your leadership role. Truth number one, you cannot drink alcohol. And that's probably going to create a big debate because some spiritualists are defending the position that you still can have the occasional drink. I disagree. And I disagree for a variety of reasons. The main one is that when you're consuming alcohol, this is increasing the chances of penetration into your auric field from outside energies, whether they are shadow energies, demon energies, just low level frequency energies that are looking for an opening. And consuming alcohol creates that opening. So I would highly discourage you from continuing to drink alcohol once you experience your spiritual awakening, once you're undergoing the phases of the spiritual awakening and the spiritual ascension. This would be a step backward for you to continue to drink alcohol while you're purifying, while you're trying to heal and understand your life lessons. It's going to cloud your judgment and it's going to lead to accepting people from the past, people that you no longer have soul ties with. You've closed the contracts with them. Alcohol pushes people into a decline. Not only does it kill your cells, biologically speaking, but it also pushes you in a different direction than enlightenment. And anything that's not helping you ascend, it's helping you descend. And there are many energies, many beings, many people that are connected to these energies and beings that thrive in the chaos. And when you consume alcohol, you're more likely to be brought back down to those lower playing fields. And if that's something that you want to entertain, great. But it will 100% corrupt your life, your lifestyle, your choices, your own consciousness because of the firewall that's around you. That's going to be affected, or something else is going to be added. However, you want to look at it, there's so many different implications of you drinking alcohol. And so that is absolutely true. Once you begin your spiritual awakening, drinking alcohol is a major no. And anyone that is defending that you are still able to have alcohol, you should question their motives. You should try to figure out where they stand on the evolutionary path, on the ascension path, and what is their motive for motivating you to slow down. Because essentially that's what alcohol's, it's the purpose of alcohol on earth. It's to slow down our ascension. And some teachers, some healers, and some shamans, they're not necessarily true light workers in the sense that they want to restore unity consciousness and they want to get us to the new earth. Some of them want to profit off keeping you stuck, because if you didn't need them, they wouldn't be able to offer their services. And unfortunately, they do not want to develop further their abilities, their understanding, because anything else for them will be unfair. Oh, I've already done my fair share of suffering. I've already done my ascension. I've already done my awakening. I don't want to read more books. I don't want to do more courses. I don't want to change my lifestyle anymore. Earth is going to change according to me. You see, they're not really manifesting anymore. They've given up on the manifesting because it's too much work. Now they're trying to manipulate because they have some awareness around the universal laws. They know a thing or two about spirituality and psychic gifts. And they're toying with their abilities, and they're toying with yours as well. Which is why encouraging you to have the occasional cocktail here and there and mingle with people that are not even on the same path as you, because they know if they get you stuck for a couple of months or even years, they will profit of you being stuck there. A true spiritual teacher will encourage you to continue to develop yourself, even if they understand that you won't need them anymore. Once you awaken your chakra system, once you heal the trauma, once you disconnect from certain soul ties, they know that very well. You're going to become a sovereign, independent being. And it's going to be your free will that you practice that allows you to choose if you want to work with them. But that's the purpose of being a spiritual teacher on earth, a spiritual leader, is to encourage people back to that sovereignty, back to themselves. And if they choose to co-create with you, it will be because they chose it with their free will, with their clear consciousness, clear ascended consciousness. Myth number 2, you cannot paint your nails or do any beauty rituals like dyeing your hair or curling your hair and applying makeup. I know that there is a lot of chemicals, a lot of things that shouldn't be inside the beauty products, the perfume that we're spraying, the foundation, pencils and lipsticks. There's probably cosmetic brands that are eco-friendly but are not friendly to our skin. And vice versa. There are probably brands that are very friendly to our skin, to our cells. They're not damaging the cells, but they're still using products, or their structures are not very eco-friendly. So there's a lot of morally gray areas when it comes to discussing the beauty industry as a whole. But doing your nails, doing your hair, applying makeup, spraying perfume does not mess up with your spiritual awakening or spiritual ascension. It might mess up with your hormones if you're a woman in particular. It might have a long-term implications that only manifest later on in the future. However, you're not here to be a smelly piece of natural flesh. Doing your nails, taking care of your beauty is actually going to speed up your manifesting abilities because you are going to be listening to your needs. You're going to be listening to your desires, your authentic desires, not what society wants you to do, but what you want to do. And maybe certain things that you were denied when you were a child, your voice wasn't heard, your needs weren't heard. You're able to provide those suppressed desires an outlet for them to come out. And you listening to your own needs and desires and giving them to yourself, whether it's painting your nails, booking a massage, getting your hair done, there isn't anything in those beauty rituals that is preventing your evolution on earth. You are curating your own ascension path. You're essentially expressing your authenticity. And anyone who says that it's not natural to do so, where are you living? Like, are you stuck in the past? This is the 21st century. We have technological advances. We have so many enhancements in society to allow us to feel healthy, happy, thriving in so many different ways that our ancestors didn't have access to. So why wouldn't we use those things? Especially if we're conscious consumers and we're paying attention to the ingredients list and we're also paying attention to the practices of the brands. And we're also being mindful that we cannot pay attention to everything. We're not machines with eyes that can scan the barcodes and read everything. We're meant to be here to experience life, to occasionally make mistakes and learn from them. But if we're doing our best to be conscious and we're doing our best to listen to our inner world and to say to our higher self in the universe, I matter, I look after my needs, I care about who I am and who I am becoming. I'm investing in myself so that I can be of service to more people. I care about how I look and how I present myself because I'm representing you, your consciousness, your higher self, source. Why wouldn't you want to look good? Anyone that's trying to take you into, you have to be all natural and you're doing your makeup and you're doing your hair and your nails, that's unnatural, therefore you're not godly, you're not of God, you're not ascended, you're not awakened. That's some sort of spiritual propaganda, I would say. Spiritual, I don't even know what's the opposite of spiritual narcissism, but it's spiritual bigotry, I suppose. It's the judgment manifested outwardly when you're projecting your own beliefs and limiting beliefs rather onto someone else. And I've seen those views come from men and women. I don't know. There are some religions on earth right now that forbid women to look a particular way. Maybe some of those views are affected by those views. The masculinity is very wounded on earth. The ascension of the masculine and the integration of the divine masculine is happening a lot slower than the divine feminine. I would once again advise you, question the motives of everyone. Do your own research. Make sure that you have your own beliefs. Make sure that you make your own mistakes. Even if you know that this is probably not the best decision, but it makes you happy. When it comes to, I don't know, choosing a nail polish color or choosing a t-shirt that it's maybe made from polyester and you've read the studies that polyester is not good for you. But there's something about wearing that t-shirt that you've probably glimpsed into the future. So you already know that you're wearing that t-shirt into the future. Don't doubt it. Don't question it. Get that t-shirt, wear it, see where it takes you. Everything is an accessory. Everything is a tool. And trusting the vision that you're receiving from your own higher self is going to take you where you need to go. Ignore the noise. There's a lot of noise, and everyone thinks they're doing the right thing by preaching, but not everyone is connected to the source, or not everyone is trying to take you to where you need to go, even if they're trying to take you to a place that is part of the new earth. You have your own destination, and you're not going to get there by listening to every single person out there. Truth number 2, you can't do major plastic alterations to your sacred vessel. This is probably going to trigger some people. But if you're saying to people that you've ascended, you're saying to people that you've experienced your spiritual awakening, that you're at peace, that you understand your mission, that you understand your purpose, that you have found self-love for yourself, for all that you are, and yet you think to yourself, I'll get there. I'll get there when I fix my nose. I'll get there when I fix my ears. They need to be small. I'll get there when my forehead becomes smaller. I'll get there when I get the cheek implants. I'll get there when my lips are fuller. I'll get there when my skin is flawless. I'll get there when my makeup every day stays there for 12 hours and I can portray the perfect figurine. I'll get there when I have enough Botox so that my face is flawless. That's not your soul. That's your ego. That's your wounded ego. There's a part of you that you haven't met yet, and that's your inner child. And your inner child wants you to see yourself, hear yourself, and accept yourself just as you are. Sure, you have scars. Sure, you have white hair. You have hair on your body. Does that make you any less lovable? No. There are probably certain things about your vessel that you can correct. Let's say that you have gained some weight because you had unhealthy coping mechanisms and skills. So you joined a club where you get to exercise, where you get to do sports together. You joined a community. That's a healthy way of correcting something about your sacred vessel while honoring the fluctuations, the ebb and flow that happens naturally. Maybe there was an injury that you had. That's a natural alteration that has to happen in order for you to heal. That's part of the recovery journey. You had a major accident, you had to have the surgery. There is nothing unnatural about that. But when you genuinely don't have any other problem, anything happening in your life beyond your own thinking attacking you, and you think to yourself, well, maybe if I correct this, I will be happy. No, I'll insert stuff in my body to correct my figurine. Then I'll be happy. You're seeking the male gaze, you're seeking the gaze of somebody else. Maybe it's not the male gaze, maybe it's the gaze of somebody else, but you're seeking the approval of someone else. And what's worse, you're seeking the approval of humans at the 3D level. You're seeking the approval of people who do not even have their spiritual sight activated. They cannot see your spirit, they cannot hear your soul. All they see is the flesh, and you're trying to impress them by correcting the flesh. When inside that flesh, that's where you find the sacred vessel, and outside too, the energetic vessel. So when I see people that are talking about spirituality and they have done so much, their faces are unrecognizable. You can see it's the same nose that the beauty industry has. It's the hair extensions, and I'm feeling the disconnect that they have from themselves, from their true self, and I don't want to engage with them. I don't There isn't an ounce of me that feels that they're connected to source, to a divine guidance. They're connected to the false matrix, and they think they're spiritual prophets, but 9 out of 10 times they're not. It's a manifestation of the spiritual narcissism. It's the ego leading them. And what's worse is that those that are awakening are listening to them. The only person you're here to listen is yourself. And if you find other teachers and healers and shamans on your path, way showers, light workers, that kind of rekindle your own light, fantastic. But if you don't, why are you so quick to scroll and find the next person that impresses you so that you listen to them? Yeah, they have the nose that I want. They have the hair that I want. Oh, maybe I should fix my chin. They're leading you back to the ego. Can you not see that they're leading you back to the ego? You're focusing on exactly the things that they want you to focus on. That's why they fix those things. It's like anchors. They've created anchors on their body and on their face. Spiritual narcissism anchored. The illusion, it's part of the illusion. This isn't a beauty filter that they're using online. They've literally massacred their own sacred vessel to create these spiritual narcissistic anchors to guide you back somewhere where you don't want to get stuck. So, plastic surgery has had an increase. There's a reason for it. It's part of the manipulation, it's part of the false matrix. There's a reason all of these actors and pop stars, they have to massacre their bodies in order for them to be so famous. They're not allowed to keep their connection to their consciousness and their soul. How else are they going to be manipulated? How else are they going to follow what somebody else wants them to say? And not their true self, not the divine. Plastic surgeons are here, but they're not going to be here for a long time. Getting a surgery because you've had an accident is one thing, but to choose to change an aspect of your vessel because you think it's gonna impress other people and it's gonna get you where you need to go because you appear a certain way, you're part of the illusions. And once the veil lifts, people see that you are like a dead body still walking around because you're not connected to your soul and your consciousness. Mask is off. Show's over. You cannot fake doing the inner work. And that's why I said 9 out of 10. Maybe there's one person that has done a lot of manipulations on their body. They're unrecognizable from how they came here, and they're a true vessel. So do not automatically judge. But if someone's frequency and energy does not feel divine, it's probably not. They're probably not connected to the divine. That's why. Myth number 3, you can't return back to society and back to large groups after your awakening. You're going to become a lot more sensitive after your awakening, after your ascension, or during your ascension. The big episodes of your ascension, you're probably not going to want to speak to anyone. Even attempting to have a conversation with someone is going to feel triggering, even if you've known each other for 20 years. Suddenly you're strangers. This is a type of dissociation that has to happen for you to integrate more of your true self and for you to release all the versions of you that are no longer serving you, versions that you've outgrown, versions that are not going to allow you to reach higher levels where you get to channel more of your potential. And in those periods, it's essential that you are alone. Sometimes this phase lasts a couple of months, sometimes it lasts a couple of years. So if you're serious about being of service to humanity, it's not even a sacrifice. It's an investment once again, because you're honoring all the chapters where you could spend them with people that might not be part of the future chapters with you, but you get to practice gratitude towards the past and gratitude towards the future that is yet to happen, manifested into the physical realm. Because time is not linear. And I've personally seen into the future on multiple occasions my whole life. I just didn't know that that's what I was doing. But there's certain realities, certain timelines. Well, all of the timelines have already happened, but there are certain timelines that are yet to come. And other timelines will never happen because of the choices that you made. You've closed those loops, and it's like your life is this stream. But every now and then you make a choice. You decide to take your eggs back. That's a detour. Or you decide to give somebody a chance. That's a detour. It could go on both sides. But the point I'm trying to make is when you return back to center, when you return to spending some time with yourself in isolation, you continue flowing on this middle stream, your life stream, and you're calling back all the other timelines. You're calling back yourself from all the other timelines, your lessons, your potential, your blessings, everything from old timelines and all the other timelines that is no longer, they're no longer going to be part of your main timeline, the mainstream. And so these periods of isolation, They're extremely important. You cannot bypass these timelines, these periods of isolation, in order for the timelines to be integrated. That's how you quantum jump. Because the next time that you take a detour, you're no longer here. You're no longer stuck in what's happening here. You're no longer thinking about when you were a teenager and something happened, because you've integrated that. That's a memory, and you can jump to the memory and back, but you're not stuck there. There isn't something pulling you in there for you to revisit it and think about it and wonder, why did I say that? Why did that happen that way? You've integrated it, and you can continue to flow with more ease. And even more so, you can continue to receive guidance so that you can ascend your consciousness, your mainstream. Because just like you have one stream, that stream can be at the level of chaos. It can be even more. It can be even lower, where there is grief and depression and fear, and you're just making yourself smaller. Or you can ascend and be bold. And that mainstream that you have is ascending beyond what you've known. And you're continuing that. There is that continuity of your life. So it's a myth. You can return back to society. You can return back to spending time with large groups if you want to. No peer pressure. But you might be spending time with different people. You might not be spending time with the same people that you spent years of your life with, because you no longer relate to them anymore. And that's okay. You can give yourself permission to grieve a little bit and then continue to ascend and keep that stream as high as you can, for the sake of progressing in alignment with your higher self and supporting the world around you. But don't avoid spending time on your own, especially when you are experiencing the awakening and the ascension, these massive expansion windows that are happening when you have the spiritual symptoms, the ascension symptoms. Don't ignore them. Don't silence them, especially if you're somebody texts you and you haven't seen them in a while, but you're feeling your body needing rest. Don't ignore your own intuition and your own needs, because you've done it your whole life. Now is the time for you to invest in yourself. There's a reason you're experiencing your awakening and your ascension right now. Not everyone is. I know one day everyone's going to experience it, but there is a reason you're experiencing it right now. And if you ignore that, that's like the universe calling you, and you're like, actually, I've got my friend calling me on the other line, universe. Bye. Choose better for yourself and for your future self, and think about the impact that you're going to leave one day, because you're not going to be here forever. You might as well make the most of it. And you're not going to make the most of it by choosing the same patterns, the same choices day after day, day after day, especially if some of those choices have gotten you to a place where you feel stuck in life. When the invitation comes for something new, say yes. But don't be surprised if that invitation comes with that period of isolation, because that period of isolation is important. It's necessary. You cannot skip it. People that skip it are taken back there because they think they've done the isolation. And I've seen this. I've heard this. People that say, "Oh, I've spent a lot of time in isolation," and they've spent 1 month. That's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. Sometimes isolation takes years. And I'm not advocating on behalf of that, because I don't think that's healthy. But you will know in your spirit what feels right. And sometimes this isolation period, it's also protection. If you have a big purpose and a big calling on earth, you also have a lot of monitoring spirits, a lot of handlers attached to you, spiritually speaking, to monitor your progress, to make sure that you don't ascend. If they don't have access to you, they don't know your level. Only you and the divine and your spirit team knows that. And if they're keeping you isolated, if your phone's not ringing with invitations, if you're not receiving anything in your inbox, that means this is where you need to be, because everything that you need to receive is going to come from there. Which takes me to truth number 3. You can't ignore your spiritual growth and connection to self anymore. I think based on everything that I covered in the final myth, you probably know already how I feel about one's spiritual growth. My journey actually started with self-growth. It wasn't about spirituality. It was about changing my habits, my lifestyle. I realized that the trajectory that I had at the level of my conscious mind, not the subconscious, the conscious, because I was trying to figure out, well, if I one day apply for a job at this company that I really like, based on the current trajectory that I have, I'll only be able to get there as some sort of maybe marketing assistant, director, best. But that's not who I want to be. I don't want to deal with the sales stuff. That's not the part about marketing that I like. I like the creative bit. Imagine being able to create anything from scratch. That trajectory would not allow me to position myself like that, to be recognized, to be seen like that. And for you, it might be something else, but you don't have to start with the spiritual growth. You can start with the self growth. If the spirituality is still foreign to you, if the psychic gifts and all of that hasn't activated fully or at all, you don't have to start there. But the moment you prioritize your self growth and you think to yourself, I want more for myself, I'm ready to experience more, that same hero's journey is going to start for you and it will take you where you need to go. Courses will be presented your way, events are going to be presented, people are going to enter your life. Sure, some of them are probably not going to be on your team. That's going to be part of the learning path for you. These are some of the life lessons. I've had so many amazing people that I thought were part of my soul tribe, and then they turn out to be, well, not necessarily monitoring spirits, but they turn out to be people that were from other teams that were cloaked, were dressed as if they were part of my team. They were like future mentors. And then all of a sudden, when I started elevating, they were like side-eyeing me and thinking, who the fuck does she think she is? So sometimes your mentors are going to arrive as everyday people or as the colleague that sits next to you, your desk buddies, and they're trying to guide you, but not as a proper mentor. Sometimes your mentors that are divinely guided are not going to be people that you see online on social media with the big huge following, but they're going to be literally some of your colleagues that are able to communicate from their higher self, and you're going to know it's happening because you're going to feel like it's a transmission spoken from the way they're talking is going to change, but it's not going to be scary. It's going to be positive and uplifting. They're going to bring you back into the present moment. They're going to say what they have to say. You're going to hear it. You would have been brought here. They will continue with your life as normal. This is what happened after I had started my self-growth journey, and I didn't necessarily have the mentors. Turns out they were all around me. It's just that they weren't necessarily formally spiritual mentors and spiritual guides. They were normal people. Some of them were mentors, professional mentors that were able to give me those messages. And if you ask them, they won't remember it because it wasn't for them to hear that message. It was for me. That's the magic of this journey. But as you focus on the self-growth, you experience the healing journey that happens at the emotional level. And after that, it's going to be the spiritual unlocking, because healing the mind, rewiring your thoughts, your thought patterns, your belief system is going to take you to the heart. And from the heart, you're going to revisit the childhood trauma. Everybody has some. It doesn't have to be super dramatic, but you probably have some cycles from your family that they didn't break, that you're here to break, that impacted you at a subconscious level. Once you deal with that and you merge some of those timelines where they need to be merged, then you're going to start receiving more of your own higher self, more of your soul, and more of your purpose, more of your mission. So that's it. 3 myths, 3 truths, and there's probably a lot more to cover, but these were the top points that I wanted to make, having been watching what other creators are saying, what other teachers are sharing, and some of them are just wrong. And it's okay for us to call out what's wrong, especially if you're already doing what you're preaching and you don't see any corruption of your consciousness. I've been on the super fasting diet where I remove the things that the top spiritualists are telling you that you should remove. I did not look healthy. I did not feel healthy. I was actually withdrawing from my body. And I think some of those teachings can be quite dangerous because I do believe there is some lost prophets, self-proclaimed prophets here that are trying to take you outside of your body. And sometimes you don't return, if you know what I mean. The point is for you to be integrated. Sure, you have to ascend the consciousness, but that stream, you are that stream. And the more you ascend, the more you're going to have a greater view, a greater grasp and understanding of the human experience. But you're not meant to be outside looking in. You're meant to be in from the outside in, integrating the soul, the higher self. I think some of those spiritualists, they haven't fully integrated their higher self. So they're trying to take you somewhere out. And I don't think that's the future. I don't think that's how we're going to get. It's almost like organizing the workplaces of the future, but you're putting your Facebook glasses and you're meeting online. That's not the future. That's further dissociation. We're trying to build communities where we can actually meet one another, but be united around a goal that is a match to our values, match to who we are, where we don't have to sacrifice who we are. And so question everything that you hear. Question everything that you hear and understand that you're here to awaken and integrate your higher self and then go back to normal living. But you might have periods and phases where you do have to go in isolation and be away from society. Do not panic. Take it one day at a time and trust your intuition. You know where you need to go. Thank you for watching and don't forget to subscribe. I'm doing a lot of different channels, a lot of different podcasts. Let me know what you want to see more of. And I hope that you're having a beautiful summer.